Hello, my lovelies. I'm Ginny O, the author with no last name, and today I want to talk about the TikTokification of publishing. This is something I've been having my eye on for a couple months, like at least 3, and this is the first time that I've really had a chance to talk about it because I like doing one video a week. So back in November, about my birthday no less, Bloomberg put out an article about Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. Now, I think that the top of it, the tab one, is funnier than the actual name, but it says Fourth Wing and Iron Flame author Rebecca Yarros needs a reality check. And then the article is also titled TikTok is turning the publishing world into fast fashion, and it's by Jessica Carl, one of their opinion columnists over there in Bloomberg. Now, this article really actually did what it was supposed to do. It got people talking, not necessarily about Iron Flame, the Fourth Wing and Iron Flame and Rebecca Yarros, because people were already talking about that, but talking about how publishing landscape is changing. Now, in the kind of author world, we've been like watching this stuff going on TikTok, and we have been kind of like shaking our heads. I mean, must we have book talk tables at Barnes and Noble and so on and so forth? And like, there's a lot of people, a lot of readers who think that we're being kind of pretentious and everything, and it's not actually us as authors being pretentious. It's not, you know, we don't want you reading books. Of course we want you reading books. Many of us don't even care too much about the books you are reading, as long as you are reading. Like, I know a lot of people at my local library are reading things like J.D. Vance and C.J. Box and David Belushi and James Patterson. And, okay, not really my cup of tea, but they're easily digestible type of books with short chapters, and there's nothing wrong with that. I really wish you'd stop supporting James Patterson, but James Patterson would be like an entire rant video. Let's just not go there. And so we see these book talk things, and as authors, we get very concerned. Most people don't know that back, I believe, in August, TikTok actually filed a kind of trademark or patent for something called 8th Note, and it's going to be a publishing company. So TikTok themselves wants to get into the publishing game. So why? Why are we all so concerned about this TikTok thing? Well, it's because TikTok, despite right now not having a publishing company, has really nothing to do with publishing. And there is this kind of cultural thing that's happening, especially among younger people, where the languages used on TikTok is kind of infiltrating the publishing space, and how, it's an app and they want apps for everything, and it's got algorithms to recommend things for you, and so they want things recommended for them on websites that don't even have algorithms, like AO3 and Tumblr. And the way that this is going is that it is something that can be easily manipulated. Okay, when a platform takes over all the marketing for books or music or whatever, things start becoming very, very trendy and pulpy. And because trends can be so fast, which is why they're trying the fast fashion comparison and still kind of failing miserably. But Abby Cox has a whole video about that if you want to see that. That, you know, you have to, if you are marketing a book on TikTok, you better have that manuscript done before you do any type of marketing whatsoever. Like, even before you put up a book trailer or do like a little like year-long series of little skits about your book, because they're going to want that book. They're going to want it now, and they're going to, you know, and they're going to want to get it out there and distribute it as fast as possible so people don't forget about it and hop on to the next trend. So this makes publishing seem a lot faster and a lot more trendy than it really is. Like, there are trends in publishing. We've had trends in publishing: urban fantasy, dystopian YA, you know, all sorts of little tiny things like that that went over, you know, several years. So we would have several years of urban fantasy before people got mad. We would have several years of YA dystopian before people were like, okay, we're on to the next thing. We'd have several years of vampire stuff before people went on to the next thing. And now it's like, is this a yearly trend? Is this a 6-month trend? Can you get this out in time? And so it makes trying to do publishing and get onto that. If you have a book you're writing and you're trying to get onto any type of trend that you're seeing in Publishers Weekly where they're buying things up, it means you have a much smaller window to do that. And, you know, when you're talking about books on TikTok, you used to only have like a minute. Now you can use 10. But in a minute, it's really hard to describe a book and give a rating for it. So a lot of times, instead of like just going, I really love this book and this is why, you know, in a minute, they would use what we call tropes. These are things particularly found in tagging systems like on AO3 and Wattpad, where, you know, so enemies to lovers and only one bed and angst and wump and, you know, all sorts of little things that, you know, that kind of take a complex plot of a book and try to make it, you know, very derivative and very marketable, sellable. So a lot of these books do say, oh, it has enemies to lovers in it. I could, you know, go look at other reviews and they're like, this was sold to me as enemies to lovers, and it's not enemies to lovers at all. Or this was sold to me as a fantasy adventure, and it's not a fantasy adventure at all. You know, so you have this problem where things are being marketed as certain things even though they're not. And then this type of marketing language is going from being something that's just done on TikTok and fanfiction to now when you're trying to sell it to agents, you have to use that type of marketing language. You know, it was very taboo to be like, my book is X plus Y back, you know, even 5 years ago. You didn't want to do that. Now, you know, you might be able to include some comps that were similar to the X plus Y. You can't, especially if the X plus Y was really popular, you might be able to include some comps that would, you know, help with them to figure out the marketing. But you didn't want to say, my book is Star Wars meets Big Bang Theory. You didn't want to say that. Now, it's like you don't have a choice but to say that. And so it's, you know, it's changing the way the marketing is being talked about. It's like making it really kind of simple and derivative. And so when authors have ideas then on books that aren't necessarily fitting whatever trend is right this minute, or whatever, you know, kind of, these two things are super popular and if we, you know, we want to marry them together, and, you know, you got 6 months to get it out. If, you know, if you don't have that, it makes it far more difficult to get a publishing contract. And it's already really difficult as it is. I mean, like, it's like a less than 2% chance, I believe. And so what authors are concerned about also is the way these algorithms work, okay? Companies have already proven that they're willing to go out of their way to manipulate things to get them up on top. The New York Times bestseller list. For God's sakes. You know, some of the things that hit that bestseller list, you know nobody's bought them, nobody's reading them, come on. You know, but things like that, the New York Times bestseller list is one of those, they manipulate it. They put so much marketing money behind these different things, so of course they make enough sales to make it to the list, but other things do not get the marketing money, so they don't have a chance to get on that list unless there's by some chance some unicorn on TikTok or YouTube who's a popular person who reviews books who, you know, somehow gets a hold of their book and, you know, is like willing to be like, hey, I loved this book, you might love it too, give it a shot. The thing is, a lot of these TikTokers and a lot of these booktubers now, especially the big ones, the ones that the debut authors are relying on to get their arcs, to read their arcs, and to spread them, are getting these arcs from the publishers themselves. So if you're a debut author and your book is not being given to these big TikTokers or big, you know, YouTubers, though TikTok is more, you know, popular than YouTube now, you are kind of dead on arrival if you don't have your own, like, TikTok and own marketing scheme yourself. And I hate to break this to you, but most of us authors, we are not marketers. We don't want to market our own books. We want to write books. Marketing books takes a lot of time, and we would rather have people who, you know, other readers trust on YouTube and TikTok and Twitter and places like that, who are readers whose sole purpose is reading, to read books and, you know, review them honestly and, you know, politely. And give that type of word of mouth, because, you know, I have no control over word of mouth. Most authors have no control over word of mouth, and the way traditional publishers have control over that word of mouth is by giving these arcs to these reviewers, you know, Kirkus, BookBub, the New York Times. Who reads the New York Times reviews anymore? And then they give them a lot out to the social media influencers. So then now you also have to worry, are the social media influencers being honest? So you have to start looking for the ones who do, you know, negative kind of reviews of, oh, this book was so awful, and then you have to like scroll to the end and hope that they give some reviews of, you know, books that they thought were great. You know, here, you don't like this book is bad, go read these books instead. You know? But they get their views by being snarky. So as authors, we're like really concerned about companies like TikTok manipulating the algorithms and the recommendations, because they do that already. We know they do that. And then publishers will be able to pay TikTok to also influence those algorithms, or Google, and that's not great. Now, the last thing we're kind of worried about that I've seen talked about is that a lot of this talking, a lot of this publishing marketing language, like tropes and it's X plus Y, you know, type of thing, sounds very prompty. It's like, sounds something that for machine learning. You know, putting stuff into these big language learning models like ChatGPT or ScriptGPT, or there's at least a couple other ones that are kind of dedicated to prose, and that, you know, publishers might be trying to get enough stuff to put them into a language learning model and cut out an author entirely. You know, as these language learning models may or may not get better depending on what is fed into their learning algorithms type of thing. And when they're feeding stuff into these language learning models, are the authors that they're feeding into it being paid? You know, are their works being licensed to be put into these data sets type of thing? And the answer is usually no. And so authors now are going to have to be aware on publisher contracts, with their agents, with their lawyers, of is it in the contract that they can put it into a publishing house owned language learning model or something like that. Okay, so we're concerned because we want people, actual authors, to you know to have more of a chance to be successful. And remember, a lot of the authors that don't get marketing dollars from publishing companies happen to be people of color, or people who are neurodivergent or things like that. And so, we want them to have more of a chance on TikTok and YouTube. We don't want these algorithms being so fine-tuned that debut authors don't have a chance at all. Like a thing, so it's tough. And when I did see this, I was very much reminded of the entire situation that's going on at the Amazon right now, which, Amazon is not technically a book publisher, but they are a book distributor. I am a freelance author that it uses Amazon as a print-on-demand service to publish and to distribute my books. They don't have agents, they don't have editors, they don't have book cover people, they don't have any marketer. If I want to market my book better on Amazon, I had to pay to play, basically. I have to pay for sponsored ads, which is just like, wow, ow. That's painful, because the service for Amazon that makes the money is not the books themselves, it's the pay-to-play sponsored ads. So it's authors going, I have a dream and I want to be successful, so they put their book up on Amazon and they pay a bunch of money to advertise it. And then they find out that Amazon algorithm is so fine-tuned or whatever, that in order for your book to stay on top and to have the regular sales that you need, people have to constantly see your name by you putting out new books every 3 months. And with non-content, low-content books like sketchbooks and like coloring books and stuff, that stuff means you're putting out new work every single week. So that's flooding the system. So you have these people who are putting out books every 3 months in order to try to, work the system, and hopefully not have to buy as many sponsored ads, to keep their stuff in people's faces at all the times. Because it used to be like 10 times people have to see your stuff 10 times before they buy it, but now it's like 7 times before they buy it. So you need to have your stuff like on 7 different TikTokers or 7 different YouTubers, or people need to see your stuff on Twitter or on Instagram type of thing 7 different times, on Amazon before they buy it. And so the algorithm, in order to keep up with an algorithm, you have to post so much. And as an author, by the way, if you're posting all this stuff, you're doing all these like ads, you're doing hard selling, readers don't like it. They want the soft sell of the book review. They want the soft sell of you talking about something else and then being all, oh, by the way, and my books are on Amazon. And I don't even do that soft sell anymore. But by the way, my books are on Amazon. So it's one of those things where I can see, as an indie author who has to deal with Amazon, if TikTok continues down this road and publishing continues down this road of using TikTok primarily for marketing and asking authors to use their own TikToks for their own marketing, so the publishers don't have to pay for marketing, the authors just do it, that it will become more and more like Amazon, where you are, you know, doing this pulp publishing type of thing where you have to put out so much every 3 months, and you're going to be writing to very specific keywords in order to try to hit these trends at a certain time. And you know, you won't be getting the editing you need, you won't be getting the development time you need, so the book's quality are going to suffer. And we already have people going, why are these books being published that are getting all this hype on TikTok when the quality is suffering? Well, because publishers don't want to pay editors, so editors become agents because they can get more money as agents, and then the publishers don't hire more editors. It's very simple. You know, life would be a lot more interesting, I guess, if people who were artists were in editors and such were paid properly. You know, think of all the great stuff that we're missing in this world because neoliberalistic end of the world stage capitalism, where the only thing that matters is the profits to shareholders, means everybody else gets ground under their boot. You know, like, why are we spending billions of dollars on technology that if you just took those billions of dollars and paid people who are already writing and people who are already making art, you know, the world could be a much more beautiful place where, and people wouldn't feel so desperate and, you know, sorry, something I get a little passionate about. So this is why we worry. We don't want to see the publishing industry become like Kindle Direct Publishing on Amazon or some sort of vanity press. You know, we don't want to see that in traditional publishing because, you know, people want to hold traditional publishing that's supposedly making all this money to a higher standard, which is completely reasonable. And we don't want authors to have to do their own marketing. And we don't want that marketing to become really, really derivative and trendy and, you know, fast faddy type of things that, you know, could be put into prompts in a language learning model. And then we all lose our jobs, which is what the WGA was fighting against. And we authors don't have a union. We have the Authors Guild, which most of us indie authors don't qualify for, but we don't have like a big overall union or guild to fight for us against these publishing houses type of thing. So that's why we're worried about TikTok. And I do want to say that, you know, this has been coming for a while. You know, YouTube has the algorithms too. Instagram has their algorithms. This is not something that we haven't been like building up towards, but TikTok and the way TikTok hype has been going for a certain amount of books over the past year, year and a half has been really starting to hammer home the dangers of what could happen in publishing because of trying to market on such a fast turnaround, turnover place as social media platform as TikTok. Okay. Happy 2024. Wow, 2024 already. Take care of yourselves, my lovelies. Bless. Stay safe. And in the next videos, I'm hoping to do a series about if you're a fan fiction writer and you want to become writing original fiction. So what's the differences in indie publishing, trad publishing, and, you know, let's see, what was the other one? And, you know, the review culture. Okay? So take care of yourself. So I will see you in the next videos.